I'm Dr. Orion Taraban, and this is Psych Hacks, Better Living Through Psychology. And the topic of today's short talk is the power of half. So this is going to be a story time. Story times are episodes that I will periodically release in which I talk about my life. I've had a lot of interesting experiences, and some of those experiences, I think, have important and powerful lessons for myself and others. And many viewers have expressed curiosity about my life as well. So I thought I'd tell some stories. So this story is called The Power of Half. So when I was a teenager, I was very interested in meditation. And when I was 19 years old, I went to live at the Shaolin Monastery in China to study Kung Fu and Qigong under a master teacher. It was a very difficult experience. The regimen pushed me out of my comfort zone in many significant ways. We were doing week-long fasts. We were meditating 20 hours a day. It was almost superhuman. It was also my first time in a radically different culture where I was identifiably other and didn't speak the language. I had a couple of breakdowns, I had a few breakthroughs, and it was overall a very powerful experience for me. I remember one day I was sitting in my classroom with my teacher. When we weren't actively meditating, he would usually talk about the next exercise or some sort of spiritual doctrine. However, this time, apropos of nothing, he started talking about money. He said that if anyone asks you for money, give them half. It was a real non sequitur, and I think that's why it kind of stuck. I was like, why is he talking about this? But that's what he said. If anybody asks you for money, give them half. Okay, a few days later, I decided to go for a walk in the countryside outside of town. Back then, Shaolin was a small village with one dirt road through the center of town, surrounded by pasture and mountains, and I thought it would be pleasant to walk in nature. However, I was followed out of town by a group of maybe 10 teenage boys, students of the martial arts academies there in Shaolin. Now, they didn't speak any English, and I didn't speak any Mandarin, so it was tough going at the beginning. But they eventually formed a circle around me. A few of them started picking up rocks, making threatening gestures and grimaces. At that point, I understood I was in a sticky situation. Now, for a brief instant, the thought crossed my mind like, time to see how good my Kung Fu really is. Let's see if I can take all 10 guys by myself. But fortunately, that thought was very short-lived, as I realized that would have been a bad decision. If I took on 10 guys, I wouldn't come out of that situation looking pretty. So then what? They're looking at me. I'm looking at them. I'm thinking, how am I going to get out of this situation? When I remember what my teacher said a few days ago, and I thought, well, I don't have a better idea, so let's try this out. So I took out my wallet and I showed them all my money, which wasn't all that much, mind you, and I separated it into two piles. And I said with my gestures, okay, this half is for you guys, and this half is for me. I'm giving you all half. And the guys looked at each other, and they looked at me, and they all seemed to agree that, yes, this was the most equitable possible arrangement. And they took half the money, divided it among themselves, and then slapped me on the back and went on their merry way. They certainly could have snatched both piles of money. They certainly could have forced more out of me. They had numbers on their side. But in that moment, I learned that there was something psychologically powerful about the idea of equal halves. Those guys weren't entitled to any of that money, and they could have taken it all. And yet, they were content with half. Amazing. I was amazed. In the first place, that the half trick worked. And in the second place, that my teacher had instructed me to do this 2 days prior to the actual event. It was pretty uncanny. So if you ever find yourself in a tough situation, you can always try the half trick. Turns out that half-ness has some power to it, a psychological validity that is not to be underestimated. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this. Let me know in the comments if you want more Storytime episodes. And please remember to like, comment, and subscribe for the algorithm. And see the About tab for more information about donations and consultations. Thanks for listening.